Chapter 11, Day 6, One Program, One Standard. Welcome back to another episode of JV Matters. This is where we talk about football. I'm your host, Coach Lowry. So let's get at it. But before we jump into today's episode, I want to invite everyone to join me tomorrow for a special 4th of July episode. We're going to break away a little bit from today's episode or talking about football and reflect on the meaning of Independence Day, the sacrifice that gave us our freedom, and why those values still matter today. I hope you all join me for what I believe will be a meaningful conversation. So now let's finish chapter 11. All right. So as we wrap up chapter 11, I want to leave you with one final thought. One of the biggest mistakes uh, a football program can make is acting like the JV team and the varsity team are two separate programs, but they're not. They're one program with one purpose. The purpose is to develop young men and prepare them for the next level. JV isn't here to compete with varsity, and varsity isn't here to compete with JV or to even ignore the JV. They're connected. Basically, I guess you could say they're kind of connected at the hip. Okay? Every varsity player was once a freshman or sophomore player trying to earn a place, trying to earn their spot, trying to figure out where they were, who they were. Every senior once looked up to an older player, wondering if they were ever going to get there, if they're ever going to be or find a spot on that roster, starting spot on that varsity roster. And one day, today's JV players will be a varsity leader that the younger athletes can look up to. That's how healthy programs grow. And that's how a good culture is built. When JV practices with varsity, it isn't just about getting extra reps. Far no, that's way no, okay, or far from no, from the answer. It's about learning the standards. How does varsity communicate? How do they practice? How do they respond when the coach corrects them? How do they handle success? How do they handle failure? How do they respond to failure? A JV player has to learn to emulate or wants to learn to emulate the right varsity player. And don't get me wrong, there are some players at all levels that are players that are just there to wear the uniform or just there. Okay? So you want to find that one player that one or two players that just, you know what, that's what I want to do. That's the person I want to be like. Those things matter just as much as running the right route or making the right block. Culture is taught every single day. Every time you walk on that field, culture is being taught. It's being displayed. And it's trying to be displayed and pushed down to the freshman level, right on through the JVs, right on through the JV players. You always get a few players on your JV team who think that they have arrived. So when the season starts back in January or so, right after the regular season, you basically get those freshmen who are now becoming JVs and they think they've arrived. They think they're the cat's meow. And they're not. They but they think they have. Some think that by hurting another player on the team or by a cheap shot is going to impress the coaches, but it's not. Okay, so take it for with a grain of salt. Just because you're in sevens or something like that, and slamming somebody does not necessarily mean that. Okay, and I'm talking about if your team is going up against a younger team, be good, be careful. Um, you're there to do your job and do what you need to do. I'm looking for players who know the difference between being a team player and someone who thinks they have arrived. I want the coachable players, The players that are not the players on the field that think that I want you to walk on the field with attitude and I want you to display that attitude, but I also want you to be coachable. Be that player that walks with your head held high. Whether you win or lose the game, you still have to walk with your head held high. As coaches, we have the responsibility to make sure that the standard is the same from the youngest player in the program to the oldest, and that includes from the freshman all the way up to the varsity. The expectations shouldn't change. Effort should always be expected from everyone. Discipline should be expected for everyone. Accountability should be expected from everyone. Respect should be expected from everyone. And when everyone is held to the same standard, every player begins to understand what your program stands for. And then the family is formed. Because that's what you are. The football team from JV, freshman, varsity, up and down the ranks is one family. One thing I've learned, or I've always wanted my JV players to understand, is this: you're not practicing with varsity player because you're filling a spot. You're practicing with varsity because you're preparing for your future and you are helping the team prepare. Every drill, every meeting, every correction, every conversation is preparing you for the next day, for the day when you're going to wear or possibly wear that varsity jersey every Friday night. So don't waste those opportunities. Prepare yourself. Be ready. Be the player the coaches can count on. I also want the varsity players to understand something as well. You're being watched as also. The younger players are watching how you practice. They're watching how you treat your teammates. They're watching how you respond when the coaches correct you. If you shrug your shoulders and roll your eyes or something like that at a coach, do you want your younger players to emulate that too as well? That doesn't set the culture. Whether you realize it or not, you're helping shape the future of the program. So lead by example because one day you're going to graduate. The standard you leave behind will become the standard the program or the group follows. I've always believed that the best football programs are, are not built in August. They're built every day. They're built in the weight room. They're built during the off-season workout. They're built during summer practices. They're built when JV and varsity work together instead of apart. That's where championship culture begins. Not with talent alone, with unity, as a team, as a family. If there's one thing I hope every player takes away from this chapter, it's this: never look at practice with a varsity player as something to survive. Look at it as a privilege. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to prepare for a player and a person of who you want to become. Football eventually comes to an end. Eventually, you're going to come to your senior year, and it's going to be the last game of the season, the last time you're going to put on this uniform ever. That means some of you may not get to the next level after your senior year. Make the most of it while you're wearing this uniform. But the lessons you learn from competing, preparing, respecting others, and holding yourself to a high standard will stay with you long after the final game. It will stay with you at school. You realize that most of the students at school or on campus know that you're a football player, even if you're not wearing your uniform or your jersey. The teachers know that too, just by the way you act and hold yourself. You want that to happen. You want to get that respect. You want to respect your teachers. You want to respect your fellow classmates. They'll know you are a football player. That's why practicing with the varsity is is about so much more than football. It's about becoming the kind of teammate, leader, and man people can count on for the rest of your life. So, in closing, it's one team, one standard, one purpose, one family. So, when JV and varsity work together instead of separately, everybody wins. That's how great programs are built. And that's how young athletes become great leaders. So one more thing before I close out this this chapter. If you're enjoying today's episode, I'd love you to come back tomorrow, of course, for my special 4th of July message. We'll step away from football for one day to honor the men and women who helped secure the freedoms we enjoy and reflect on what those freedoms mean for all of us today. Those freedoms help us enjoy this game that we love so much and that we play, and that, of course, the coaches coach, which is football. So, from my family to yours, have a safe and meaningful and blessed 4th of July if you do not turn in tomorrow. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. And I'll catch you tomorrow on JV Matters. And you all have an outstanding day.